You know how sometimes when you wake up, you're craving this specific thing for breakfast? I'm hoping it's a common thing. I do. One particular morning, like most mornings, I felt like bacon and eggs. So I went downstairs, opened the fridge, and no eggs. Now, there's an IGA quite close to my house, but it's one of those express ones, so it's kind of expensive. But I didn't feel like walking the extra kilometre to my normal Coles, so I went to this IGA. Now, I like to do my bit for the environment, animal welfare, buy free range. But when I got to the egg shelf, it was $8.60 for a carton of free range eggs. I like chickens. I really do. But $8.60. I couldn't do it. I ate my breakfast that morning with a conscience as heavy as my wallet. Cage eggs just don't have that altruistic zing about them. Despite my lapse in environmental care, I do want to take care of the world and try to make it just that little bit better. But it's hard to know how much impact you're actually having. And it's an interesting question. Are we really making the world a better place? It might seem like a simple thing to ask, but let's break it down. Are we, humans, making the world a better place? Now, world, I think, can be defined as us, people, and our environment. Plants, animals, houses, ecosystems, cities, countries, etc. But better is a bit more complicated. Better than what? Better according to who? I think it depends on what you're looking at. So let's tackle a few examples and see if we can tell whether the world is getting better. Life expectancy. So much better. We can actually have our midlife crises before puberty. But, jokes aside, I think the length of our lives is something we take for granted. It's pretty incredible. Even in the last few generations, we're expected to live an average of 10 years longer than our grandparents. Wealth. On one hand, we're all a lot better off than we were a few decades ago. In fact, the proportion of people living in extreme poverty has halved in the last 20 years. But on the other, inequality has grown all the more extreme. The richest 10% of households now own 88% of the world's wealth. Violence. There's no more of it, but there's also no less of it. According to research from the University of Notre Dame, human beings are neither more or less violent than we have been throughout history. But that's no cause to celebrate. Extinction. Again, no. Conservational ecologist Stuart Pym from Duke University led a study which determined that humans are causing the extinction of species to happen as much as 1,000 times faster than normal. Human beings are actually considered to be currently causing the Earth's 6th mass extinction event. Climate change. Surprise, surprise, but no, our climate is not getting better. Here's a visualization using data from the Bureau of Meteorology, which shows how Australia's average annual temperature has risen from 20.7 to 23 degrees Celsius in the last 100 years. Sustainability academic Professor Jem Bendel from the University of Cumbria wrote a recent paper on the consequences of this climate change, in which he said, "The evidence before us suggests that we are set for disruptive and uncontrollable levels of climate change, bringing starvation, destruction, migration, disease, and war." Also adding that climate-induced societal collapse is now inevitable in about a decade. Slavery. This might be surprising, but slavery throughout the world is actually as bad as it has ever been. To put it into perspective, over the course of 250 years in colonial America, 10 million slaves were brought over from Africa. That's over 250 years. In 2014, just 1 year, there were an approximated 36 million people enslaved throughout the world. That's not progress. Just sit with that for a second. The best thing to come from that list is that we're living longer and we have more money. We're killing each other as much as we ever have. We've wiped thousands of species from existence and we continue to do so. Human beings are being used as a commodity for labor and sexual gratification. We have academics saying that a climate-induced societal collapse is inevitable in the next 10 years. Are we really making the world a better place? Doesn't seem like it. It's no wonder then that we're asking the question, are we making the world a better place? We're looking for hope. We want to know that things are going to get better, that we can make the world a better place. And it's an important question to ask. Can we make the world a better place? Well, we're certainly trying to. Take Greta Thunberg, for example. You've likely heard of her. She's a 16-year-old climate activist, famous for her school strike for the climate. She's spoken at European parliaments, given her own TED Talk, and even addressed the United Nations, calling for extreme action combating the impending climate crisis. She sounds like someone who believes we can make the world a better place. Here's what she has to say about hope for the future. Adults keep saying we owe it to the young people, to give them hope. But I don't want your hope. I don't want you to be hopeful. I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. I want you to act. I want you to act as you would in a crisis. I want you to act as if the house is on fire, because it is. Is that really all we have? No hope for a better house, just panic as we desperately try to stop the current one from burning down? When we were kids, my sisters and I were given a book called 21 Ways You Can Help Make the World a Better Place. It was things like have shorter showers, turn the lights off, don't dump nuclear waste in local river systems, that sort of thing. For a while, we followed it religiously. I'm sure Mum and Dad were happy with the water and electricity bills, and we just buried our radioactive rubbish in the yard. But like most things you do when you're kids, we got tired of it eventually, and then we stopped. Nowadays, it's hard to see how any of that could make a difference, especially against the fact that 71% of greenhouse gas emissions come from just 100 companies. While it doesn't stop us from trying to make the world a better place, it does feel pretty hopeless. Ultimately, though, whether you're panicked or hopeful for the future of the planet, it's a yes-no question. Can we make the world a better place? If the answer is no, then the world's falling apart and we're all eventually going to die. But if the answer is yes, then we're going to make the world a much better place, and we're all still eventually going to die. Whether we succeed or not, the end result is going to be the same. Even looking at it long term, what's the point of reverse aging if you can't stop the heat death of the universe? It's like doing an arts degree. It's pointless. Do our efforts to improve the earth even really matter? Well, this leads to the question which underlies whether we are or can make the world better. Why? Why make the world a better place? It's kind of assumed that it's something we should be doing, but why? Why should we care? It seems instinctive, but it's a difficult question to answer. No matter where we base our convictions in wanting to improve the world, if we take a step back to actually look at them, they seem kind of futile. Why make the world a better place? Is it for us? The people we love? Our children? Their children? I think primarily that's true. We do it for people. We want to make the world better because we want longer, happier lives for us, our friends, our families. We do it because we believe that human life has meaning and value, that it's worth preserving and improving. And that's the crux of the issue. It's the belief which sits at the core of the question, are we really making the world a better place? Human beings matter. But do they? Do humans matter? And if so, why? The universe doesn't think we matter. Neither does the planet. Nor do animals, except for maybe dogs. But if that's the case, then humans only matter because humans think they matter. The belief in human value is based on nothing except the belief itself. Now, you might have different reasons for believing that. Humans have value because we're smarter than other animals, the capacity for higher thought. Humans matter because we have empathy. We actually care about things. Humans matter because we invented cheese, and cheese is delicious. I don't personally know anyone who believes in human value for that reason, but you certainly could. I'd understand if you did. But regardless, no matter what the reason is, the belief is still just based on that belief. We think humans are valuable for whatever reason, therefore they are. But if that's true, then so is the opposite. We can think human life is worthless and strip people of value just as easily. And we have. Think of the Holocaust, the transatlantic slave trade. Hell, even the modern slave trade. We think people are worthless for whatever reason. Therefore, they are. The logic that says human beings matter can also be used as proof that they don't. If that's the case, then human life doesn't have meaning or value. And if that's true, why is it worth preserving or improving? It's like choosing to go to RMIT for university. You could, but why would you? Why make the world a better place? Here are some answers to that question I found online. Mimi says, you do it for you. Michael says he does it because it makes him feel good. Stephen does it because he likes being comfortable and content. Being comfortable and content makes him happy. If humans matter, then as selfish as they are, those responses make sense. We want to feel good, happy, and content. But if people don't matter, if there's no inherent value in human life, then those answers ring hollow. If human beings don't matter, why make the world a better place? Why worry about whether we can? Why worry about whether we are? We're going to have a break for some food now, and I reckon it'd be good to think about that question while we eat. If humans don't matter, why make the world a better place? Or maybe you disagree. Maybe you think I missed something and that humans actually do matter. If that's the case, then chat about that too. I'll see you back up here in a bit. I hope you all enjoyed your food and some casual conversation about the value of human life. I'd like to start now by looking at what Christianity has to say about whether human beings matter. It's important to understand that in the Bible, the earth is made with value and purpose. That's something that's different to every other creation story, religious or otherwise. The world isn't the result of some cosmic battle between divine beings, as admittedly cool as that sounds. It isn't random. It didn't just serendipitously spring forth from the void. The world and the rest of the universe was made by a single creator as a good, beautiful, ordered place. 6 times in the first chapter of the Bible, God calls the world good. But after humans appear, he calls it very good. We, just like the rest of creation, were made with value and purpose. And it's part of that purpose to take care of the earth. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with how in the start of the Bible, creation is described as the Garden of Eden. And Adam and Eve, the first humans, well, they're the gardeners. We were made to look after the world because the world is good and valuable and worth looking after. Now, clearly, it's not just Christians who believe that human life matters. In fact, sometimes it might even be hard to see that Christians do think humans matter. Christians have done many terrible things in the name of God throughout the centuries. Nonetheless, biblically, human life has value. And almost everyone in the world believes that, regardless of whether or not they believe in God. It's like I talked about before we had our soup. We all believe that humans have value. It's instinctive. But in a godless world, it's hard to see where that value comes from. When you actually think about it, it doesn't seem to come from anywhere. The difference with Christianity is that it grounds human value in an eternal, perfect creator. It's irrefutable. Human beings matter. You matter. Because you matter, the world matters too. The value of life and our planet is not based on fickle human beliefs relative to our societies, but it is based on a God who created it out of love to be a beautiful, good thing. That is why we should care for the world. Not because it might be able to make us more comfortable and improve our few decades of existence, but because it really, truly matters. Believing in God as creator transforms the way you view the world. You don't need to worry about whether making the world better has any purpose, because you know that it does. You don't need to worry about whether you matter, because you know that you do. Can we actually make the world a better place? Christians disagree on this. Some believe we can't, and the world is going to keep getting worse. Some believe we can, and the world is going to keep getting better. Well, either way, are we making the world a better place? We want to. We should. We're not sure if we can, so are we? For Christians, even if we aren't sure, we can be okay with that because of this incredible hope we have for the future. We can rest safe in the knowledge that we are valued by God, trying our best to look after creation, knowing that God has promised not only to make the world better, but to make it perfect. These words from the last few pages of the Bible. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away." He who was seated on the throne said, "I am making everything new." Then he said, "Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true." God won't just fix the things that are wrong. He's going to make the world better than we could ever imagine. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. That's a personal, relational promise. Whatever upsets you, whatever you're anxious about for yourself, the world, the ones you love, it'll be gone. It'll be over. A perfect world for a perfect humanity. No slavery, no violence, no suffering, no death. And whether or not we believe all that to be true, we still long for a world like that. It's why we're trying to make the world a better place. I'll leave you with an idea from C.S. Lewis, the man who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia alongside much else. He suggested that this feeling we have, this longing for the world to be better, actually exists because we have built into us this inkling of a better place. All the things we enjoy and make us feel good. A sense of satisfaction after a great meal, that warmth after a perfect hug from a loved one, the feeling you get while staring at a sunset, are all echoes of this perfect place. Shadows, which suggests something amazing beyond comprehension, but just don't fully realize it. He said, if we find ourselves with a desire that nothing in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that we were made for another world. Are we really making the world a better place? I don't know. And I'm not sure anyone does. What I do know is that you were made for a better place. Don't settle for less.